Hello, Dumelan. Ke nna Tefo Paya. Yes, I am a performance specialist, and I do various things. But formally, I'm the director at Maitisong, which is a creative and cultural hub under Marokane School, which is under Marokane Foundation. But I'm also a part-time lecturer here at the University of Botswana. And yeah, when I'm free, I just go out there and work with communities, get involved in anything artistic and creative. Yeah.
When did you first realize that you wanted to be a writer or that you were interested in the art of writing?
So for me, it came from just my love of theater. So this whole journey to becoming a performance specialist and getting into acting and all of that, awesome things. It started with theater. So I was acting at Marokane, I was in plays and so on. And to act, there'd always be a script that I'd work with. And I've worked with so many different scripts, from the Shakespeare's right through to the Wallace Oyunqwas, to original workshop pieces. So that then made me realize the importance of having a script. And that through script, through writing, we get to actually, pen down our stories. And you kind of immortalize them. They exist for like forever and they live on beyond us because we're here for a limited amount of time. And I strongly believe in telling stories, that through storytelling, there's so much that you can contribute towards growth, towards development, towards life, towards love, towards purpose, towards humanity, all these beautiful, amazing things. And I felt like that's my way that I can change the world, one person at a time.
Beautiful answer. So, if you were to calculate, how long do you think it takes you on average to write a full script? Let's say 60 pages a script.
Okay, so the initial idea, getting the concept and that coming up, the story itself, the narrative, that for me is in the moment. I feel the inspiration and literally, the man above just works through me and suddenly it's like, whoa, I see it. I hear it, I see the voice, I see where it's going, and I just get the concept. That comes in a moment. And I run with it, I really run with it. But now to keep revisiting it and going through the craft of actually writing, that takes a little longer. And it takes longer in terms of you go back and forth with it. So for me to really get into it, a script, first draft, I could take about 2 weeks. But then for me to get to my second draft, that falls into the second month, third draft, fourth month, and then I take it through a cycle of a whole year before I actually have my final draft. And in that cycle is not just writing. I'm from the workshopping tradition, and so you work it. Whatever you write, you then work it. Try it out on the floor with actors, or I try it out solo. But I play around with those voices and try to explore the world within the script, within the characters. The characters of the world that they exist within. And yeah, so that's sort of how my process then goes. So it goes anything from a moment of inspiration and then just to really go through the craft and make sure that it's layered. Because I've read so many scripts, it's like you realize how deep, how much depth the scripts have and the way they're written, and like there's so much to them, and really good scripts, you gotta take time. It's like cooking, you can't rush it. But when the dish is ready, you can taste it, you can smell. But I'm a big meat lover, by the way. So I wait, so that almost falling off the bone type meat, because in Botswana we do a lot of boiling of meat. So when you know that it's just right, it's when it just starts to fall off the bone, but it's not mushy, right? That's when you know, ooh, it's time to dish it out. So that's the way that I go with scripts. I just gotta feel it out. So depending on what type of script, what it's looking at, sometimes I gotta do a bit of research. So that also takes time for me to add layers to it. But the initial story, the storyline, that, like I said, within a moment, and then within a week I can have that story. And then unpacking it and structuring it into a script, that takes time. So it can go anything from 2-3 months to over a year, and I gotta try it out.
All right. What would you say is an interesting thing about your writing, your niche, and after that, how does one get to find that?
So my writing is quite tricky. Because I'm an actor, and I come from there, improvisation, or almost like the actor's license, not poetic license, but the actor's license. Because when you're on the stage, you don't necessarily have to perform word for word, right? Even Shakespeare, there are times where it slips up in the moment, it's live. So there's always that impulse in a moment, or the improv in a moment. So the way I actually write my scripts is that there's beats and there's moments I hit. But the dialogue, I allow for actors to take ownership within it. So that's where, because a lot of people say they've watched my plays, and every time they watch the play, it's different. It's evolved, it's grown. So my scripts almost live. And I give that leeway that, own it. Play with it, explore it, This is a guide, it's a blueprint, yes. But when you bring it to life from script to stage, that's up to you. Interpret, play with it, explore it. So that's what I'd say is unique about the stuff that I do.
All right. How can one address writer's block? An aspiring writer or any script writer going through the common term writer's block, how do you deal with that, if you deal with that?
The way I do it is regular. Keep it regular. Keep yourself regular. Funny enough, I'm in a phase right now of fasting. And there's this thing about roughage and food that keeps you full, but also keeps you regular, which means that it unclogs and makes sure that there's always a flow, right? I know it's getting a bit, but that's actually what it is. You make sure that your creative channels are always open. So if you are a writer, you gotta always write. Always be going out there, experiencing, seeing things. Allowing yourself to be in spaces where you can get inspired. That means your mind needs to be open, your heart needs to be open, your soul, your spirit, to allow for inspiration to work through you. And I'm inspired by God, so I believe that there's purpose in what we do. So you gotta allow God to speak through you. But if you are clogged up with a lot of different things in your mind, in your heart, and you're not open to anything, then you'll get writer's block and so on. So I don't know what that is. I've never had it. I'm thankful, but that's because every day I'm creating. When I see myself in the mirror, when I see things, when I hear someone say something, I'm just like, like it just pops into my head, and then, I run with it. I really run with it. I had a friend, we had a conversation just now, and we thought of a new feature-length film, and he just gave me a title, and suddenly I saw the images, and then, he's moving to Monaco, and we're going to be in Cannes. Like, that's me. Like, I am constantly dreaming, imagining it, because I'm open to anything inspiring me.
All right. Lastly, of all the things you've written, of all the genres you've written, who is your favorite character and why?
It'll have to be Mora. And it's Mora because Mora keeps going, and Mora is based on me. Very, very personal. So Mora the Rising Sun, but there's many versions of Mora the Rising Sun. Then there's also Mora the Rage Within, Mora my father and I. Mora which stemmed from a man in his heart. And so there's a lot of that, just trying to understand what it is to be a man. Be a man in Botswana, be a son to this soil, and experience all these things you feel, what you're allowed to be, what you're not allowed to be. And it explores identity and culture, and so that for me is the character that stood the most. And most people know me with Thuruma, and they'll always say, still for now, it's only been written and performed by myself. I haven't yet handed it over to someone else to perform, even though there was an actress who I mentored who then did more idea, inspired by more. Yeah.
All right, last one. Give 3 tips or tools or hacks that one can use when they're writing. Your go-to. Yeah.
First tip, if your heart's not in it, it's dead. There's no point. Really. Because if your heart's not beating, you're dead. Literally. So if your heart is not symbolically in it, just stop right there. Right? Because I understand we get caught up in writing for work and so on, but you need to find something that just at least tickles your heart and says, yo, can you be a part of this? Just a little bit, not fully, even if it's a corporate thing, but put your heart in it. So that's the first thing. Second thing, people talk about brand, and for me, brand, I always take it to identity. And what do we do most of the time to show our identity, to show that it's us, right? There's a card we carry, yes, but there's also we sign our signature. So what's your signature? Because writing. So what is you? So find your technical signature, like the type of things you write and so on. What is you and what fits with you? And you can evolve. It doesn't need to be boxed in, but just be aware of your signature, right? Even with signing, as much as just signature, it varies. Sometimes what pen you've got, like there's variations in it, but people know that, oh, that's you. This is your mark on this. The third thing for me is everything we do is not for us. Whatever we're gifted for is not for us. Even when you write, you don't write for yourself. You write for others. You write for others to be able to communicate what you've written. You write for others to hear and feel and experience what you've written. So those are my tips, that you always got to be clear about that. Those three things, if you got that on lock, and you do those things, practice them. Like practice is also just one of those things you have to always do. So you need to be practice, going from the heart, speaking from the heart, right? Listening to your heart. You got to do that regularly. Every day check in and say to your heart, yo, what's going on? What do you feel? Even if it's scary, even if it gets you emotional and so on, you're a writer. And then writing is almost the closest thing sometimes as a creative to being connected with God. Because you're the one who creates in that moment something that many others are going to follow and take from. So listen to that heart and listen to God, right? And then the second thing is exactly that, the signature, that you be authentically you. Don't try to be someone else. So you got to practice that. Just like when you first did your signature, you practiced it over and over until you get it right. And then relish each moment you get to sign. A lot of time when you sign, good things are coming. You don't just sign for fun, no. And obviously the third thing obviously is servitude. So you got to always learn to do for others. So you give them a voice. You give them representation. You allow an opportunity for them to be witnessed, to be seen, to be, all those different elements. And if you do those three tips, I think you'll be good.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Paya.
Welcome. Can I say something?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as writer's block. I'm sorry. I hear it all the time, but as soon as you say it, then you're going to encounter it. So because I don't believe in it, I don't think about it, I don't experience it. So please, that thing,
lose it.